that, and then go into number 4, confidence formation. The tool here is focus. Once again, you focus on what you want and not what you don't want. So here's the goal for you and also for your client. Confidence is when achieving your goal is more important to you than looking good. Confidence is when achieving the goal is more important to you than looking good. Confidence is when achieving the goal is more important to you than looking good. Now, looking good is great. Looking good, being in control, being comfortable, those are huge human drivers. Looking good, being in control, being comfortable. People sell out possibility and success over and over and over again for comfortable. Confidence is when your goal is more important. What happens here is the number 1 fear in America. Do you guys know what that is?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. It's very interesting. Number 2, death. That's right. So it's funny, if you're at a funeral, then you have those 2 common fears. You're more scared of doing the eulogy than being in the box, which doesn't make any sense. But yet, it's like, yeah, it is. Here's what's happening when people have a fear of public speaking is simply a matter of focus. The focus goes from the audience and the message and shifting every second in order to make sure to get their message across and that they get it to inward. And all my focus is inward, and I'm talking and I'm moving and I'm just thinking about, oh my gosh, how do I look? Is my fly down? You know, are my hands weird? Do I have food on my face? You know, did that sound? And the more you focus on yourself, the more hyper focus you have inward. What happens is you become hyper aware of you, and when you become hyper aware of you, your confidence goes away. However, when you become hyper aware of a goal, what happens is your awareness of yourself starts to dissipate. And it's weird, and we call that confidence like it's a thing, but it's really not a thing. All it is you're focused on the goal, and whatever happens right here, it's just a means to get to the goal. And what happens is you start to move more fluidly. You start to ask questions more direct. You start to get more curious. You start to move in sequence with what you're saying, and you have rhythm instead of like Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby. You guys ever see that? It's this guy who wins this NASCAR race, and it's his first time ever. And they come up to him and they're like, Ricky Bobby, how do you feel? You won your first race. And he goes, well, I like to go fast. And his hands start to move. And they keep on pushing his hands out of the screen. And he's like, I don't know what to do with the hands. We would get awkward. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you start to notice that feeling of a lack of confidence, what's really happening is you're focusing on yourself instead of the goal. And if that's the case, you got to start putting in your language the goal. And if you use this model, you just got to go back to step 2 and step 1 and just start repeating it. Listen, what we're here for is to get this home sold so that you can take care of your son the way that you said you wanted. Is that still important to you? Right? And ground it in. Did I understand you correctly? And get an answer. And then you can move forward from there. Here's the thing with your feelings. Your feelings are horrible masters, but they're amazing indicators. Feelings are horrible masters because your feelings, they change like that. Up, down, scared, confident, scared again, confident again. It's like, so what all they're doing, remember good feelings, bad feelings, what do they indicate? Yeah, it just indicates what you're thinking about. If you're thinking about something you don't want, all of a sudden you feel bad, and we call that all kinds of different things. But then as soon as you start thinking about what you want, then you feel good again, and it can happen in a moment. I'm total schizo in my mind, back and forth. So if you can do what you say, just speak out loud what that goal is, and you're kind of reminding yourself as much as you're reminding your client what we're here for. It literally starts with you, and you can bring peace. Because people need confidence. In fact, people will more likely follow confidence than competence, which is scary because there are lots of confident people out there that are incompetent. Incompetent. However, it's also a shame because there's lots of highly competent people that just don't have the confidence because they have this internal focus. They're always looking at, how do I look? How do I look? Who cares how you look? Get over yourself. Really. Is this about you or is it about your client? And if it is about you, well, start practicing these steps and fake it, because this stuff works. And I'm telling you, if you fake this stuff, what you're going to find is being interested in people, it's a lot better process. I mean, it's more fun.
Very nice.
Time goes quick. Step number 5, lead with the simplest solution. Now, the tool here is simplicity. So the way that you would actually use this tool is if you imagine the person that you're with being so excited and begging to do business with you, having been pre-sold, what would you do in that point? What would you do at that point? And lead with that. Because a lot of times we actually talk ourselves out of deals. We'll use modifiers in our language which just show that we aren't confident and we're thinking that they're not going to say yes. Could you maybe sort of at this time be ready to possibly sell your house and kind of get a great deal that I think I can get for you, maybe? And just our language is revealing, hey, you don't believe it. And they might not say, oh, I hear modifiers, so I know that you don't really believe. What they feel, though, is, I don't know if I trust this person. I don't trust them. Or your body language starts to close. And you start to, just like if someone's going to try to hit you, that same kind of body language starts to happen. And once again, you're unknowingly protecting yourself from this doom that you know is going to happen. As opposed to, great, open body posture, smiling. I'm so excited to get this home sold because I think it's a great thing that you're going to take care of your son this way. Here's the buyer-broker agreement. This is the first step. Are you ready? It's simple, right? If I really believed that Corrine was on board, and as opposed to, I know there's a lot of agents out there that might bring you a deal and they're not going to want to work with you because you have this buyer broker agreement with me and you're probably going to miss out on a lot of houses. But let me talk you out of that, right? And I end up trying to explain to them things that they didn't even think was even on the table. They didn't know that was something that they should fear. Or maybe they knew what it was, but it wasn't a fear for them until you started to bring it up. In sales, there's something called it's basically letting silence do the heavy lifting. So at this point, what I want you to do is lead with the simplest solution and then shut up. Let silence do the heavy lifting. And it's more of a telling posture, because once again, step 1 and 2, you're figuring out what's really important to them. And then after that, you need to tell them what to do to get there. You're there to help them. You're the expert. Tell them what to do, or give them a pointed question. This is the listing agreement. This is the next step. Are you ready? Right? And very clear. And then at that point, you got to have no as a possibility here. That's what I mean. You got to have no as a possibility. You have to have a possibility of being clearly rejected. That's your goal, which is a strange goal. But what if, let's think about why that is so essential, that you have to have a possibility of getting clearly rejected. Lead the person to a place, lead the possible client to a place for them to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. And because the flip side of that is, yes, your mental, what you're doing mentally is going to hamstring you, and you're crippled, or it's going to support you. So what are you doing in that silence? If the silence is deafening and unbearable, well, what you're doing is you're thinking about what you don't want, bad feelings. But what you could do during that silence is you can just be wishing the best for that client. And you can be thinking, man, this must be, in your mind, this must be such a hard decision. I just hope that they find what they're looking for. Man, I hope that they choose me because I'm going to do whatever it takes. Man, I'm just going to bless their socks off. They're going to love me to death because I'm going to do so many more things that they have ever, and you're thinking about this, and it's silent, and the silence goes like that for you. So let's move in here with the resistance, because if you give them an opportunity for a no, there's definitely going to be some no's. But no isn't a problem. What no does is it's going to help you to see what's really going on. So then you go back into kind of the 7-layer value system and get more curious. Get more curious. So here's what I call the resistance dissolver. And I wrote put a triangle on your page. It's basically this triangle, it's the Greek symbol delta, and it means change. So in this change, there's three parts here. Our need to be right. We have a need to be right. The resistance that comes up when we feel like someone's challenging us, and our protection of our own identity. Identity. I love being right. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Isn't it great? Like seriously, if any of you could follow me around just throughout the day and just periodically say, Jevon, you're right, I'm going to think that we're best friends. I'm going to love you. That's all it takes. However, what I found with working with people, especially smart people like executives, successful agents, anybody that has any kind of proof of success, that they'll say, I'm successful, I'm right, look at all of this. That very need to be right that they have often will keep them from what's more that's available for them. You know, what got you here won't get you there, a famous consultant said. What got you here won't get you there. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you're not going to get new things. You're going to get what you've always had, that sort of thing. And so my need to be right will keep me stuck and will ruin deals for me, I believe, and will separate you from relationships. And the reason is, if I need to be right and MJ has a different opinion than me, I need to be right. And she says something that's different from me. It's just different. What do I automatically make MJ? Wrong. And if I make you wrong, how does that feel? What's it feel like? Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, no listening agreement. The basis of that is an attack. I believe we feel like we're being attacked of some sort. And if I get attacked, human beings have three reactions usually. They have the fight, flight, or freeze. It's in the reptilian part of your brain, or more specifically, there's this part called the amygdala. It's right in the center of your brain, and its whole job is to find the things that are going to kill you. That's its only job. It's survival. It's its job of survival. And if someone attacks me by calling me wrong, and I'm thinking I'm trying to help them, but I call them wrong through a lot of different ways, my body, posture, my tone, my words, all those things, they're going to immediately feel like they need to defend themselves. And when they defend themselves, what happens is the part of their brain, the prefrontal cortex, it's right behind your forehead right here, that's the part of your brain that can hear new solutions that they didn't know before. It's the part of your brain that has your personality, and it's also the part of your brain that can stop automatic behavior now and plan for a future benefit, which is what you need, right? That's what signing that agreement is about. It's stopping an automatic urge to protect myself and plan for this future benefit that you're going to provide. You need for that prefrontal to be firing. But the amygdala, I'll draw a picture of, here's the amygdala, here's the prefrontal cortex. This amygdala firing, it's all about survival. And this is all about thriving, prefrontal cortex. So, I don't know, sorry. Thrive, survive. Here's the interesting part, why I put it up there. These two things can't be going at the same time. Paul, nice to meet you. Oh, that's good. We should follow you. Those things can't happen at the same time, which means that if I'm protecting myself, I can't be open to new solutions. They can't consider why that you're the best option to get their listing. They can't if they're protecting themselves. And when they're open to new solutions, they don't have the capacity to look for danger. They don't operate at the same time. So the best way for you to lower that resistance, really, and get the prefrontal firing is really questions and curiosity. And so what I've done is I've replaced these three drivers that we have, the need to be right, with something else, the need to resist with something else, and the need to correct people's identity with something else. Because the reality is we're not going to stop wanting to be right. I'm never going to not like being right. I just like it. I'm just going to have to deal with it. However, just like if I was going through, let's say I'm going through a path in the woods, and I go through this certain way in the woods over and over and over and over and over and over again, what happens to the path? It gets wide, it gets easier and easier to go down, it gets really well worn. Now if I find a shortcut, a better way, and then I start going through that way, at first it's going to be hard to go down. But as I go down more and more, it gets easier and easier.